That's what this passage is, Colossians 3, 1 through 4. It's a gospel in miniature. The priest often here from this table will say these words: Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. And that essentially is the whole narrative. And here you have the same thing. A little different order, but it says, since you've been raised with Christ, Christ is risen. For you died with Christ, Christ has died, you died. And your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, you also will appear with him in glory. He will come again. Christ has died, Christ has risen, Christ will come again. I need to earth that for you so you understand what it is that's being said here. This is a critical component because we are saying, or Paul is saying, since you have been raised with Christ, or you died and your life is now hidden with Christ. What does he mean by that? How do you die with someone? And the best way to describe it is to put it in terms that most people here in the room understand. Either you are married, or you've been to a wedding, or you imagine that I wish your marriage would have worked out. It doesn't matter. You understand the benefit and blessing of marriage. Let me tell you what happens in a marriage. A man walks in, and ceremonially speaking, a man walks in, he's got his friends on one side. The woman walks in, she has her friends on her side, and then they join together, and their whole life pivots around two simple words: I will. The old book said, I do. But their whole life changes, and they are now no longer single, but one. No longer two, but one. They're no longer single, they're married. It requires to be consummated and all that sort of thing, but you get the idea that two become one. Now here's the point. When a person is married here in this church or in any church, from that, when they walk out together, even though they came in separately, they walk out together, and from that point forward, they are, listen, dead to the single life. They have left that old life, however riotous or not it was. They have said, I am leaving that old life. I'm dead to that old way. I no longer am in the market, so to speak. I'm no longer engaged in relationships, appropriate or not. I am dead to that kind of life because I have a new life within me. And incidentally, this is the way a couple should respond. You know, if a woman or man gets a call from a former girlfriend, former boyfriend, or somebody that is, an employee that is, wanting to kind of make an inroad into this relationship, here's what you say. You are dead to me. Okay? You are dead to me. Because essentially you are. That person is dead to you. You have left that kind of life. And so when Paul says, for you died, he's talking about you've died to the old way of doing things. He's going to describe to you what the new way looks like, but he says, you have died to the way you used to live. You're a new person. You may not have worked out all the implications of it. It will never work out in your life perfectly. You will always have, shall we say, attractions and interests to the old way. But Paul says, since you have been raised with Christ, since you died with Christ, and when he comes again, you will appear with him in glory. So all that is by way of reminder. This is what the gospel is. This is why it's the little compressed, distilled understanding of what our life is like. But, go with me on this. There is even one more distillation, one more step down into the most compact, distilled, dense picture of what the gospel is that I can imagine. It's in the first verse. Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above where Christ is seated. He is seated at the right hand of God. Now go with me on this. We do not understand the implications of this because we live in the 20th century. But if you were to go back into the ancient world, into the people of God, what you would see is a nation and people, not for 10 years or 100 years, not even for 1,000 years, but for 250, 300,000 years, 3,000 years, whose life was centered around a sacrificial system of religion. Every year, offerings were made. Every month, offerings were made. Every season, animals were sacrificed. The blood was flowing through the streets. The smell of one offering after another just everywhere in the nostrils of every person of any kind of faith. On a daily basis, offerings were made. It was just the way things worked there. It was compulsory. It was complex. It took a very special category of people to do it, namely the priests. And these individuals were just dedicated to the sole art and practice of daily offering sacrifices for the sins of the people. And here, Christ, who was the victim and the priest who died, is now seated. In other words, it's done. No more sacrifices. The daily oblations, the daily offerings, the daily smoke and blood and offal in the street, all of that is over. And the implications of that are stunning. Now, we don't get this because we live in the 20th century. But all week long, I've been thinking about describing it in these terms. Did you pay your taxes this year? Just a couple of days ago, I called our accountant on Monday, and I said to him, first time I've talked to him in 12 months, I said, I've been a bad boy. I got the file. I can't even bear to look at it. And he said, well, it's late. And I said, I know it's late, but what do I do? He said, all right, bring it down. So it got down there, and I waited Monday, all day Tuesday, and all day Wednesday. By Wednesday afternoon, I knew why I had waited all year. Because I hate paying taxes. I love our country. I believe, every citizen should support it. We pay our fair share. That's not the point. The point is, all year long, I wonder if I've withheld enough. I wonder if it's going to be good enough. I wonder if I'm going to make it this year without the IRS getting that interest in my account and bringing me before an audit and trying to get me to lay out my entire spending for the year before. I live with a concern that they're never satisfied, and I'm always on the downside of it. I'm always insecure about it. And let me just say something. If there is an IRS agent here in this room, I love you. You come up here, I'll give you a special blessing. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that it is a daily issue. It sort of resides in the back of my mind from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and then it moves to the front of my mind, and I just get worried about it, that I'm going to get pegged. Did I give enough? Did I keep enough accurate records? Are they going to come and impound my car? Okay, garnish my wages, haul me off to jail, take things. Are they going to make me lay out all my whole life before them in an audit? Boy, if I get audited this year, I'm really going to be upset. Okay, so the problem is that that's the way the Old Testament, New Testament age people thought about God. Every single day there were offerings. Are they enough? Were they enough? Am I right before God? Am I justified? Am I righteous? Was it enough?
We thank you for joining us online. The ministries of Christ Church Plano are made possible by generous contributions from our members and viewers. If you have found this sermon meaningful and would like to make a gift of support, please visit christchurchplano.org/give. Thank you.